Indie games obviously don't have the backing of massive finances and resources that AAA games do, but the best of them tend to more than make up for those restrictions in other ways. A lot of these get the recognition they deserve for being as great as they are, and go on to develop massive fan bases, but some, sadly, end up getting at least a little overlooked. Here, we're going to talk about a few such indie games that may have gotten lost in the crowd that you should check out. Tormented Souls. For fans of classic survival horror games, Tormented Souls is almost a must-play experience. While the genre is thriving right now, Tormented Souls is one of the few games that delivers that classic fixed-camera experience that old-school Resident Evil and Silent Hill games used to be known for, and it does it to great effect. It's a little rough around the edges, admittedly, but the pros definitely outweigh the cons here. Haven. Haven has its fair share of issues, from the monotonous exploration to the relatively shallow combat, but a lot of the game's strengths really do shine throughout the experience. Traversal is fun and has an excellent rhythm to it, so even if the world design makes exploration feel less rewarding, the simple act of moving around is always fun. The core duo of U and K is also instantly likable, and the game tells an engaging story around their growing relationship. ROLLERDROME. Stepping away from the side-scrolling platforming of Ollie games, last year, Roll7 ventured into the realm of third-person action of ROLLERDROME. Though this is no ordinary action game, it combines rollerblading-based traversal with fast-paced shooting and wraps it up in a visually stunning package, boasting excellent art design. Unpacking. A game where the central mechanic is unpacking boxes and putting items on shelves and around different rooms shouldn't be this good, but Unpacking uses its central premise in excellent ways. Not only is the Zen puzzle gameplay surprisingly engaging, the way the game so effectively uses its premise to tell stories about the protagonist's significant life events also deserves a ton of praise. The Ascent. Starting life as an Xbox exclusive title, The Ascent had plenty of eyes on it when it first came out, though its PS5 release sort of flew under the radar. If you do own a PS5, however, and haven't played The Ascent yet, it's worth checking out. From the stunning visuals to the excellent cyberpunk setting to the frantic twin-stick shooter combat, there's plenty in this action RPG to keep you hooked. CHICORY: A Colorful Tale. This is easily one of the most creative and charming games we've played in recent years, and the fact that it was made by just one person makes its strength seem that much more impressive. With its unique yet vibrant visual style, its genuinely hard-hitting story, its straightforward yet consistently fun mechanics, and more, CHICORY is a game that, in spite of its relatively short runtime, ends up leaving a lasting impression. The Pathless. Launching around the same time as the current-gen consoles, and all of the big AAA releases they went hand-in-hand with, Giant Squid's The Pathless got lost in the shuffle a little bit, though, as those who have played it will tell you, it's worth a look. Set in a beautiful, somber world that is an absolute blast to explore thanks to the game's slick traversal mechanics, The Pathless is easily among the best indie games available on the PS5. F.I.S.T. Forged in Shadow Torch. Metroidvania games are a dime a dozen in this day and age, and many of them are legitimately good, which means quite a few end up slipping through the cracks. F.I.S.T. Forged in Shadow Torch is one that probably deserves more attention than it gets. From its satisfying combat to its steampunk setting to the abilities you unlock throughout the game, more often than not, it nails the genre's fundamentals. Lost in Random. Lost in Random doesn't have the sort of cash that some of the other games that have been published under the EA original banners do, but Zoink's action-adventure game still has plenty going for it. How varied and visually arresting its realms are, how incredibly atmospheric it all feels, the excellently written side quests, it certainly is not a game without strengths, even if its combat is a bit hit or miss. DREDGE. Part existential Lovecraftian horror, part serene fishing simulator, Dredge is a game that crept up out of nowhere earlier this year and took quite a few people by surprise. The two pillars of the experience work surprisingly well together and craft a genuinely addicting and engaging gameplay loop that can keep you hooked for hours, especially if you like fishing in your games. When you get some time away from the flurry of AAA releases we've had this year so far, Dredge is a game you'll want to give a look. Deliver Us Mars. Building on the foundations of Deliver Us the Moon, Kyokin Interactive's sci-fi adventure game Deliver Us Mars arrived earlier this year, and though it didn't set the world on fire, it certainly delivered a decent experience in its own right. It tells a good story that's populated by solid characters, and though the gameplay and technical aspects are certainly a bit rough, the game's storytelling strengths do make up for a lot of those issues. Tome. One look at Tome is enough to tell you that this is a game that goes out of its way to be unique, and once you start playing it, it doesn't take long to realize just how successfully it does that. On top of its unusually gorgeous visuals, Tome also delivers simple yet fun photography mechanics, clever puzzles, and above all, an endlessly charming world that's a pleasure to simply exist in. The Entropy Center. When hell freezes over and Valve finally learns to count to 3, we'll finally be able to get our hands on the next Portal game. But until we get to that point in the far distant future, the Entropy Center is an excellent game to quench your thirst. Thanks to its excellently designed, mind-bending puzzles and an intriguing setting, it succeeds in delivering a consistently enjoyable first-person puzzle experience, even if it does falter in some areas from time to time. Hard West 2. Combining the Wild West with horror elements, Hard West 2 is a game that's already got plenty going for it thanks to its fascinating setting, though Ice Code Games' tactics RPG also backs that up with some pretty solid gameplay. The star of the show here, of course, is the tactics combat system, which may not be the deepest you'll see, but puts some interesting twists on the genre's core formula. Though not a spotless experience, it certainly is worth checking out nonetheless. Madison. Horror games that end up being not that scary are always disappointing to some degree, but you don't need to worry about that with Madison. The first-person psychological horror title is, from the first second to the last, a terrifying experience. Combining solid puzzles with exploration mechanics with a genuinely unsettling story, it delivers an experience that will have you on edge until the end. Fans of the genre will definitely want to give it a go. And that brings us to the end of the video. A quick request, we upload new videos every single day, and if you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing. It really helps us out. Also, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon so that you can receive daily video updates. Thanks for watching.